What happens after the shot? Well, these guys know a thing or two about it. All that on Gun Talk Hunt.
I'm KJ. You found the right place. We go all over this little blue orb, sharing stories and tactics about chasing wild game. Now, let's get on the hunt.
Welcome in, all you Gun Talk hunters. I'm your host, KJ, and this episode is brought to you by Hodgdon, Ruger, Vortex, Remington Ammo, and Range Ready Studios. Well, hey, we've got everybody from Montana to Colorado and everywhere in between. So it's going to be a great show. We've got Kenneth Thrall out of Kifaru. We've got Mike Herne with Tricer Tripods. And we've got Trent Eichler, Guide Outfitter, and Josh Smith of Montana Knife Company joining us this week. But let's jump in. We're talking all about what happens after you press that trigger on that release or the trigger and that animal hits the ground. What happens after that? So first, let's go out to our man, Kenneth Thrall with Kifaru. Kenneth, how you doing, man?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Last time we talked, we were doing NRL hunter stuff and all that good stuff. And getting ready for seasons. But now that the seasons are ramping up and guys are getting bulls on the ground, what does that look like from your perspective? Because that's when you really shine, right? Because you're like half mountain goat like Mike Herne.
Yeah. So like once the process starts, right, you get the animal on the ground, you get your pictures and everything. You're going to want to get it torn down. So and it depends. Like for us, we're in a lot of grizz country. Both my brother and I killed bulls this year, several miles back in grizz country. The best thing you could do is get that broken apart. So we use always the gutless method. Can get everything you need: quarters, back straps, tenderloins, neck meat, rib meat. But get it all broken down. And if you can, for those trips, we did one trip the bull with 3 guys. So one tripped it out. But if you have to come in for a second load, mainly is taking that bull, getting it like 250 yards to 300 yards away from the carcass, all the quarters and everything, preferably right not where the wind's blowing to it, but at least I've seen the grizz come to that carcass because it's the smelliest thing that's there. So if there's any sort of tip, if you're in grizz country, and like I've killed bulls by myself in grizz country, is getting those quarters away from the carcass. Don't leave it right next to it because they're going to come to the carcass first. And if you set the quarters up, glass them, set them to where you could see them when you're coming back for a second load at like 200 yards or a little farther, just to see if there's a grizz on it. But when it comes to like knife selections or anything, like I used, the Stone Goat from MKC is a great knife for breaking down. I'll always have like a Tido in the vinyl harness with, 5 blades per se, and then just get it broken down quick. And obviously when you go out, make sure your knife's sharp before you head out. There's nothing worse than getting an animal down and you're sitting there trying to hack it up and then cut yourself because it's too dull.
Well, or you getting in too much of a hurry. But your pack outs look a little bit different, than a guy like from the Midwest or even the Southeast. Like your gear selection has to be really dialed in. And I know I've spent hours talking to Herne about this and about like your pack loadout and how that all fits. And that's where, man, if you don't have something that fits right, it becomes a big issue. So talk about fitment of pack and how to select a pack.
Yeah. So selecting a pack, it's best to try them on. And the best thing now is like majority of all the companies have them at like a Shields or anything, you can go and try them on now. Or if you can't, like if you talk to like anybody here at Kifaru, if you talk to me, if I get your height, your waist size and everything, we can kind of get it ballparked in there. And once you get it, can chat with us still. But the best thing to do, and also once you get a pack, throw it on, take pictures of it. You can send it to customer service. We can tell you right away if it's going to be fitting right or wrong. And then, and the main thing is too, like when you're loading, make sure you're loading it correct. Like if you have all the weight in the bottom of your pack and at the bottom of your lumbar, it's not going to feel comfortable, regardless of any pack, so if you want to have it correct fitment, and like what I say, even if you have a Stone Glacier, Eberly Stock, Exo, or Kifaru, is your process of putting the pack on. So loosen everything up. You have everything loose. Put the waist belt on first, tighten your waist belt, your shoulder straps, maybe, clip your sternum strap, and then load lifters last. So start from the ground up. That's how you have your correct fitment. Because you'll see people with pinched shoulder straps, and that they didn't, they had their load lifters strapped too tight before tightening the shoulder straps.
E-
So
Explain
once
those load lifters real quick, because I think
hmm
we're inputting a lot of information out here, and explain those load lifters real quick.
Yeah, so the load lifters is a strap that comes from your shoulder strap back to the frame. So it's going to pull that frame tighter to your back and keep it in line with your posterior chain. So it's going to, hauling weight, it's going to be in line with your body instead of, falling way too back, like where it's going to be pulling you back. You want to have it straight with your back and at like a 45-degree angle. So if it's at a 45-degree angle, that's good. If it's too steep, you can still haul a lot of weight. What you don't want is to be too flat, because if it's too flat, then that's when you're going to get that a lot of pressure pushing down into your back. Um, so it's just trying to find that fine line. And like with our system, we have our one shoulder strap that moves between slots.
Mm-hmm.
So if you throw it on and it's too flat, right, you can move them, so up or down to get them to where you need that 45-degree angle.
Right. That's
Yep.
Man, getting that pack right makes or breaks. Well, makes or breaks your back, really. I mean, but
hmm
your journey out, you want to come out heavy, but you want to come out
hmm
comfortable, right?
Well, and that's what I'll tell you. Like, yeah, you want to come out comfortable, but I'll tell everyone right now, it doesn't matter if you kill an elk, you're not going to feel comfortable packing out an elk, regardless of any pack. Like, comfortable in the sense of like, oh, this is a breeze.
Right.
The only thing I say is like to where you can get up on your feet and the pack not break. Like my bull this year killed it. We killed it 6.5 miles back. We one tripped it out. I had bone in, hind quarter, front shoulder, the head, and all my camp, and still could
Jeez.
do it. The frame didn't break. That probably weighs as much as I do, if not more. So if you're a frame and you can haul the thing, that's the one thing about Kifaru is you don't have to really load it super diligently.
Right.
If you can throw shit on it and get on there, then you can haul.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true.
but if you have a malfunction 6.5 miles back, trying to throw on, 150 pounds or more, then you're not going to have a good day. And
Yeah.
that's where you trust your pack, and you don't want to have those mishaps.
Oh, no, not at all.
Yeah.
All right, man. I appreciate you joining us, and we're gonna jump back
Mhm.
in at final shots with you. But let's head up to Colorado Springs, and let's talk to Mike Herne out there. Mike, you had an interesting hunt just happened, dude. You probably hunt bulls harder than anyone I know, and this year you just had a tough go at it. What happened after you pressed off a shot?
Well, I did not make the most ideal shot. But it was last night at elk season, here in Colorado, archery elk season. I went to a spot where I knew bulls were hanging out that I had avoided because it borders private property. I avoided it all season long. I knew there was a ton of elk down there, but it's always a risky play, and I knew full well the risk. So made a bad shot on a bull. It was a mortal shot. That bull he is stone dead as I speak right now. Probably getting eaten by birds and coyotes on private property, but the bull ended up moving off into private property. So there was no way for me to recover it. I reached out to a guy that guides on the property, for the outfitter. I got a hold of the ranch manager, and ultimately the ranch manager left it up to the outfitter, and the outfitter told me to go pound sand. So,
In no
so there
few
was,
words, like that. When you were
yeah,
telling
no,
me
it
this
was pretty,
story,
it was
dude,
pretty harsh the way, yeah.
I couldn't
He
believe
was
the
not a
amount of
kind individual.
I couldn't believe the amount of fury he came at you and told you basically like, you come on here, you're gonna see me. Like,
Yep, yep. He said he called me, he confirmed who I was, and then said, "You're not coming on this property, and if you do, I'll be waiting for you." And I was like, "Well, I'm making the phone calls to get permission, so I'm obviously not coming on without permission, trying to do the
right.
right thing." But, yep.
But I mean, you do like the frustrating thing for me about this, and kind of a cautionary tale, if you will. You understood the risk that you were running, um, but you did everything right. Like you were hunting legally in the area that you were hunting, and you stuck the bull. Then the bull runs over to private. You call like multiple calls. This wasn't just one call. We'll see what happens. There was multiple calls made throughout this process to find the right person to make the decision whether or not to let you on. you were confronted with, like, I would say very, very aggressively, the you weren't going to be able to recover a bull that you knew was dead, and you knew where that bull was. I can't get over this, and when we come back, we're gonna be talking with Trent Eichler, but how did you how do you recover from that, man? How does that not scar you from private landowners?
Well, here's the deal. If it was September 15th and he still had hunters on the property and I would have been bumping elk going in there looking for my bull, I would have I would have been like that's completely understandable. And I understand that that's the outfitter's livelihood. So like the best I can do with it, it's a crap sandwich and I got to eat it. So being in the military, I'm pretty used to choking those down when they get force fed to me. So, that's really it. But if it was September 15th, I would have completely understood. But the fact that season is closed, his rifle season doesn't start for another week, like now, a week from today.
Right.
But, yeah, you gotta deal with the hand you're dealt. So
Yeah.
that's what happened with that.
But and you're hiking way back, and you spent a lot of time out. And granted, you were hunting with an archery equipment, but the company that you work for now, they're not necessarily on the archery side. But I mean, unless you're looking for a glassing tripod, they do have some that'll
Yeah.
work. You guys came out with the new X2 that I've been hunting with quite a bit. I took it up to Canada with me and my boys. Phenomenal tripod dedicated towards like PRS and RL guys. Talk about weight saving gear when you're packing out, just like Kenneth was doing with his bull, where he has camp on his back and a bull. Talk about like where we're headed with like lightweight gear.
So and you, Josh, can talk about this in the knife world. Kenneth can talk about it in backpacks, like archery, whether you're doing or rifle hunting, doing load development. You're always proverbially robbing Peter to pay Paul. The piper gets paid somewhere, right? Like you buy a super cheap knife, you're not going to have good blade retention. It's going to dull up quick on you, right?
Yeah.
You buy a super cheap tripod, it might be a little bit heavier, or it might not be as durable, or it might not, the legs might not articulate as well. You buy a cheap pack, or you get an ultra light pack that's not cheap. You're not going to be comfortable with 80 pounds. You wear a Kifaru that's a little bit heavier at base, empty weight backpack. It's 3 to 5 pounds. So it's a little bit heavier pack, but when you put 80 pounds on it, you're happy it weighs that because it's sturdier,
Yeah.
it carries that load better, right? So the piper's always getting paid somewhere. When it comes to tripods, like the new X1, X1 and X2 and the DH ball head, that is not meant to be lightweight. That was built for the PRS NRL hunter crowd. I probably won't be taking that tripod on any backpack hunts. But we make tripods. We make the HK,
The HK
AK
was
ball
one
head
I was
combination,
thinking.
right? And the one thing that Tricer does, that Drew, the CEO, has done, that we do, is we want everything to be functional, right?
Yeah.
So I just shot an ad with the HK AK ball head and our LP pan head, because a lot of guys are like, well, what do I do if I am going on a rifle hunt, a backpack rifle hunt, and I want to be able to have the ability to shoot off from a tripod and the ability to glass
Right.
off from a tripod? Well, again, in the world, items are purpose built. So our glassing tripods, yeah, you can shoot off from them in a pinch, but if I know I'm going to be shooting off from it, I want a tripod that's built to be shot off from, which is the
Yeah.
HK, which is it's a 4 pound with that AK inverted ball head. So you got 4 pounds there. And then I'm going to take the LP pan head that cost me 4 ounces of weight. And because we make everything interchangeable and interoperable, that LP pan head has arca cuts on the base. So I can clamp that LP pan head into my AK head. And then I've got my spotter, I can glass. And then the minute I see I identify an animal I want to kill, I hit the quick release on the ball head, pop that pan head off, rifle goes in, get set up, make my shot. So you're looking at like a 4 pound, 4 ounce package to be able to glass and accurately shoot off a tripod.
Yeah.
So we kind of make everything to be interoperable, and it's kind of shooter preference. There are plenty of guys that are running our AD and BC, our ultralight tripods, that are purpose built for glassing, that will shoot off from them as well in a pinch. But being military, I always kind of err on the shooting side and accuracy and precision. So I'm always going to take something that's more purpose built for the thing that's more important to me, right? Which would be making a good shot. And so, but yeah, that's we've got a lot of cool stuff in the works.
Yeah.
So
it's awesome gear. I've loved everything I've touched of y'all's. We're gonna take a break, and on the other side of this, we're gonna go over to Trent Eichler, also in Colorado, and see what he has to say about a tough year guiding and what he's learned after the shots broke.
You want speed, stability, and temp taming performance? Meet Winchester Stayball 6.5, the world's first temperature-insensitive ball powder from Hodgdon. Great for 6.5 Creedmoor, 270 Winchester, and even your trusty old 30-06. Hey, here is a tip for you. This powder flows really smoothly. You'll get ultra-consistent charges through your thrower, perfect for high-volume reloaders chasing that precision. It's Stayball 6.5, smooth, stable, and smoking fast. Looking for a rifle that's short, sharp, and way more precise than you on your best day? Meet the Ruger American Gen 2 Scout, the Gun Talk Edition. This thing's compact powerhouse, dressed in Cryptek Obscura Nox camo with a smoked bronze Cerakote finish, like Tactical Fashion Week, but with more recoil. Chambered in 5.56 NATO or 308, it's got a threaded barrel, installed high comb, and the kind of accuracy that forgives your bad decisions. At least the ballistic ones. You can find it at guntalkscout.com. Need a laser rangefinder that doesn't guess? Get the Vortex Ranger HD 3000 with 3,000-yard ranging capability, a red display you can actually read in any light, and HCD mode for angle compensation distance. It's like having a spotter in your pocket. Hey, here's a pro tip for you. Before your hunt, you need to go out. You need to range landmarks like trees or rocks around your blind so you're not scrambling when that game shows up. Built rugged, backed by the Vortex VIP warranty, it's the Ranger HD 3000. Tired of your range time being just mag dumps and Instagram flexing? Enter Range Ready Training, where Director of Awesomeness and everything else, Chris Serino, turns keyboard warriors into actual warriors. Or something like that. Pretty dang close, I would say. Yeah, the guy's been there, done that. Pistol, check. Rifle, check. Yeah, we got it all. Force on force, we do that every now and then too. Bring your bruises, instructor development. Welcome to the Thunderdome of learning. It's more than training, it's range ready, because real life doesn't come with a respawn button. Looking to level up your hunt and tighten up those groups? Well, look no further than Remington Ammo. Yeah, the stuff in the green box is super accurate, and they've got everything from hunting ammo all the way to NRL, like match ammo. So check those out. Remington Premier, from Premier Tip AccuTip to match grade ammunition, all in that green box you love, you trust, and you adore. Find it all at remington.com.
All right, we're back, and Trent Eichler, guide, outfitter, professional shooter for Taurus. Man, you spend probably more time out in the woods than any of us. Maybe mine, I don't know. Mike might give you a run for your money, but he's out there hunting, and you're out there guiding, and you're hunting as well in your own free time. How's this year been for you guys?
Man, it was still a pretty good year. I mean, we usually go off of shot opportunity and not kills. But elk this year, the elk weren't super ready this year, especially up the West Ranch. They just weren't really getting after it. Made it harder on us. We still put up really good numbers, but it was just a rougher year. It's been a wet year, and that kind of messed with us during antelope, but still a pretty good year, to be honest with you.
So you heard Mike's story, and Mike was on a public land hunt, shot a bull, ran over to private. Landowner said, "No way, you're not getting over here." man, as a guide and outfitter and who has private land, how would you approach that? Would you approach that any differently than the landowner?
I personally, yes. I mean, we have different outfitters that border our property, and if they end up getting one and it runs onto our property, that's a trophy animal for a hunter. I mean, especially an elk. You want that animal. You may have paid a lot of money for that animal and that experience. We're not going to take that away from you. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're coming onto our property. We'll talk to you and we might go get the animal for you because we don't want you walking on to our property and spooking off animals on our property. But we'll go in and we'll try and get the animal out for you and we'll deliver it to you, or we'll do something to help you out with that.
Man, Mike was just in the wrong area.
Yeah,
I bet he was praying that
man.
he would have had a guy like you talking to him.
That's just a rough experience.
Yeah, I mean, it would sour me for sure on that area. I mean, and maybe that's his plan. Like the more people he's rude to that request permission to go get wounded animals, and maybe it doesn't happen that often, but maybe he's just tired of hearing about it. But from the break of the shot, what lessons have you learned that could trim the learning curve for someone who's doing it, who's been doing it one way all their life? Like in the process of whether it's cleaning or packing out, like, are there any tips that you've picked up over the years?
For sure. Know what you want to do with the animal. If you want to get it mounted, that's going to change the way that you're going to dress that animal. It's going to change the way how you take it. If it's just a cow elk, you don't want the hide or you don't want the head for it. I'm going to do the gutless method to make it easier for me and faster for me. But if you want it, one of my biggest helpers when I'm packing out an animal is a sharp knife. I usually have a pack of changeable blades for my knife just to make sure if it gets dull, I can swap it out and be ready to go. And then paracord, like Kenneth was saying, if you're in bear country, you want to get the hindquarters or whatever you can't pack out on that first run away. A lot of times what I like to do is use 550 cord and put it on a tree and hang it in a tree if I have time to do it. And that keeps it off the ground, keeps it away from any animal. Another thing I like to do to keep the meat from getting too much dirt on it. I mean, when you're moving around trying to hike things out, sometimes stuff will fall. I like to keep one side, if I'm not going to mount that animal, especially on the hindquarters, I like to keep one side with fur on it. You're going to get a little hair on your meat. You can wash that off right after. It's not a big deal. I like to be able to lay that on the ground while I'm skinning. I don't have to throw it in a bag or anything like that. Keep it right there, throw it in my pack, and I'm good to go.
Dude, I've never thought about just leaving a little bit of hide on it so you can set it down. Like, that's what it's meant for.
Yes, sir. Yeah, exactly. It keeps that meat out of the dirt. It just helps you out a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know why I've never thought about that. Like, it had never crossed my mind to just go like, hey, just leave a little section so we can flip it down. Cause I'm always carrying like a small tarp or something like that, or Tyvek ground cloth I'll throw in my pack. I don't know. I carry trash bags with me. Because
we a lot of times use trash
like
bags.
a Kifaru pack or something like that. Like I can just line that pack and I can just start throwing stuff in, and those packs seem to carry whatever you want.
Is there one tip I'd give to people if you're going to run trash bags? And we run trash bags personally, but get unscented trash bags. You do not want a scented trash bag and seeping into that meat. That's a mistake I've seen some people make. So don't use scented trash bags. Get unscented trash bags.
So I think my dad the other day, like we were up in Canada and my uncle had shot an elk and I was like, hey, I need some trash bags. And he brings out the trash bags from him. It was like, I don't want my meat tasting like lavender. Thank you. But please remove that. And he goes, I don't understand. I go, do you not understand? Like, smell those. Maybe he had COVID or something. Maybe he couldn't smell. But I was like, you got to be kidding me. You're bringing me that?
Yes, sir.
That's a great tip. What else you got for us? What if a guy goes through, he gets an animal down, what are the 3 things that he needs to pay attention to immediately?
Immediately is shot placement. If it's a paunch hit, you hit gut, you want to try and get as much of that meat out of there as you can, as fast as you can. A lot of times that'll ruins some meat if it lays there too long, especially with a gut hit. That animal is going to live 8-10 hours. You want to try and get that meat out of there as soon as you can. As soon as you can, cool down the meat, especially if it was laying out there for a little bit. Just try and have something that you can cool down that meat. Trash bags might not be the best for that. That's going to keep heat rolling through if you can use cheesecloth for something like that.
Yeah.
Man, third is have a sharp knife and take your time, especially if it's one of your first times. You cut yourself, it's going to slow you down. I mean, being a guide, I've cut myself way too many times. It happens, but take your time. If you cut yourself, that's just going to waste time.
Yep. It's a great tip, and it's a great segue because we're going to head up to Montana country. Montana Knife Company, Josh Smith, founder, master bladesmith, man. Welcome in, and it's good to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
So now, this is your world. Like after the shot, this seems to be like where you shine. And I'm going to just tell you this right now. I recently got the Speed Goat 2.0. That knife scares the hell out of me.
Yeah.
It is a scary sharp blade. And I mean, it's so good and so well constructed. Talk about blade selection for the guys out there, like what they want to do, because Montana Knife Company seems to make a blade for almost everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, first of all, it's really what type of hunting are you going to be doing? You know, are you just going to walk into a tree stand and be sitting there, or are you going to be mobile? Recently I was on a goat hunt in Alaska. So, last year I was on a moose hunt in Canada. You know, you drop in on a lake and, pretty much once that plane leaves, what you've got is what you've got. Right. And so weight, as we talked about earlier, is a big thing, whether it's your tripod, your pack, your knife, and how many ounces are you carrying and what are you, like Mike said, what are you giving up for the ounces that you do give away? Mm-hmm. And then, what type of animal are you and how much work are you anticipating having to do with that blade? I generally, recommend, and really what we've built our business on is a lightweight knife where that does you two things. One, it's easier to carry. And two, by taking a lot of that weight out, you actually make for a lot thinner blade, right? So like that Speed Goat, it makes it much easier to resharpen in the field because you don't have all that steel behind the edge. Mm-hmm. A quick touch up and you're right back to work. That knife also has paracord on it, so you can unwrap it and use that paracord if you've forgotten cordage or you don't have enough, where you're guying out a 10 or fixing bootlaces or hanging meat in a tree, tying it up on your pack. We used it to secure the horns of, the antlers of my boy's moose on a pack mule. So there's a lot of different uses for that. With that, I generally try to pair that with a bit more robust blade, especially if you're in a situation like an Alaska Canadian hunt. You're out in the middle of nowhere and maybe you just want a little heavier duty knife if you take down an elk or a moose. It's funny. A lot of times people don't know how to go through joints or cut an elk in half the right way. Cause I've cut now a few elk in half and completely broke them down with a Speed Goat. Yeah. You're not prying joints apart. You're putting some pressure on those joints and you're finding those tendons that are holding those together and you kind of piece them apart. You're not prying an elk leg in half or, prying the spine in half with a blade. But, you could also find yourself in a survival situation if, split a little bit of wood or build a fire. So it is nice to have like our Stonewall knife or a Super Cub or something that's just a little bit more robust on you.
Yeah. Now you've got a new blade out. And is it the Pack Out Skinner? Is that the new one I'm thinking about?
Yeah, that Pack Out we did with Cam, that blade has a lot more belly and a lot more edge. So if you're doing a lot of skinning, it works really well for that. For a really short, I like a small blade. Again, I don't want all that weight and all that size. Yeah. And if you know how to use a knife and you know the anatomy of an animal, you can break it down with a small blade. What I will say is I like a mini Speed Goat or mini Stone Goat, something that has a tip if you want to do some detail work, if you have to keep that like the face out and get into some of those tear ducts and some of the really tight places with the tip of a blade.
Yeah.
But that pack out's a great skinning knife.
Well, that and the bear tooth. If you need I guess the bear tooth, the like 6 1/4 inch blade. It's a little bit longer.
Yeah, and that's really kind of more of a professional's knife, like a guide. Like Cole Kramer uses that knife for fleshing out big bear hides.
Yeah.
And so it's got a big rounded edge on that. And some of these guides that do a lot of fleshing of a hide or taxidermists, they're trying to make a ton of progress on a great big hide. The one thing I will say about the replaceable blades, I mean, they're handy, but I think every guy should learn how to sharpen a knife. I just feel like that's like, you should check your man card if you can't sharpen a knife. And the other thing is, I see not everybody does this, but I have seen guys throw these replaceable blades off in the bushes when they're done with them. Like, if you're going to use those, pack those blades out and throw them away. It just, kind of drives me crazy. The other thing is, I talk a lot about passing a knife down. Like, are you going to pass a replaceable blade knife down to your grandchildren or your son? Are you going to give that to somebody for their first hunt?
Yeah.
We do sharpen our knives for free for life. So whether you have one of them or 10 of them, you send them in and we sharpen them the same day and send them back. No later than the next day we send them back. So, if you are a guide and you're a professional like Trent, or you're just a weekend warrior, but especially these professionals, they need their tools, right? And so I tell guys, you get done with season or you get done, you're in between hunts, like, you send it to us, we'll have it, and you'll have it back in just a few days. But also, someday there's going to be a grandson or a granddaughter or somebody, and they're going to be telling stories about, their grandpa that was a guide back in the early 20s in Colorado. And, I don't really have anything that he had except, I've got his knife that he carried. And I say that because I've heard that story 100 times in my shop. My grandpa was a Vietnam vet, and the only thing I've got is his pocket knife. Or, he was a guide in Alaska and he used this knife on 20 different animals or whatever the stories are. And so you're passing down some of that tradition and those stories.
Yeah. And you guys, I'm telling you, like, you guys do cool designs. You do some good collabs with like Camp Haynes is a great one. You guys do a lot of cool stuff like that. And I love to see new innovative styles come out, but you guys always kind of keep it the same. It's the high end, it's the high quality, it's get the job done type of knives.
Yeah. And, it's funny, hunters, what I noticed a hole really in this market before I started this company, we saw the leveling up of like your hunting gear, your camo, right? Base layers and mid layers and your outer layers and your rain gear. Your hunting packs went from these crappy little packs to like what Kifaru does now. Tripods leveled up. You used to just grab some tripod that worked for, some photographer, and it was metal and it banged around. And, we spend a ton of money on long range rifles and optics and all this stuff. And then people would buy a $19 knife, right? And it's like, if you forget your tripod, or if you forget your binoculars, or you forget some of these pieces of gear, you can still go hunt. You can make it, but you shoot an animal and you get up there and you realize you don't have a knife on you, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's something that, we're making these here in America, and we are putting a lot of my background and my history of knowledge into these. And I'm actually a hunter, some of these knife companies based out of Portland, Oregon, like, how much do they really hunt? Do they really live what they're saying they do?
They just churn them out.
Yeah. And so, and we're listening to hunters. We're going to Total Archery Challenge. We're going to hunting shows. We're hearing from guides and hunters about what we can be doing better, what people want to see.
Right.
Hunting is who we are. So
that's awesome.
I hope to provide that quality.
Oh, it comes through, because when a knife scares me, that's when I know it's really good. Hey, we're going to bring back everybody. Let's bring back everybody in, and we're going to go through our final shots. I want to start with Kenneth. He's been sitting on the horn long enough. Kenneth, man, what do you got to say? Your final shots, like any observations or any final thoughts?
Not much. I kind of, agree with everyone on here, especially when it comes to processing to lightweight gear to quality gear with that lightweight in two. With knives, you want them to be sharp and perform. And see with Josh at Mile High this year, we saw one of our buddies stab himself with a speed goat right off the bat when he got it. So they are pretty sharp. Better be ready when you get them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, no, good information from everybody. And just like with the trash bag thing and the hide, like you're saying, like I bring a black contractor bag I always have in the bottom of my pack, especially when I'm solo elk hunting. Knock off that quarter, but have that trash bag on the backside of it and just lay it onto it. And then you kind of shimmy your game bag onto it. So if there's any sort of tip, if you are cutting up by yourself, it's good to have that. And you kind of create it as like a ground sheet is just that trash bag.
Yeah.
And obviously you can use it to line your pack if you want to. Make sure when you line your pack that it's still not warm when you're packing out. And say you're hiking out 5 miles and you have a warm quarter in the back of your backpack with a contractor bag, it's going to stay warm. So try to get it cooled down before you throw it in there. Or if you're hiking distance.
Yeah, I'll throw in like if I have any water bottles or anything like that, like if it's still kind of warm and I don't have a big hike, just cool it down some form or fashion.
Yep. But just make sure so no one has any meat spoilages. They just throw it in there instantly and then start hauling out 5 miles when it's going to take several hours. But yeah. So, but yeah, great information from everybody.
Awesome. All right, Kenneth, where can they find out more from Kifaru?
Yep. So go over to kifaru.net. We're always producing new stuff. And then, if you need any questions, hit me up, Kenneth Thrall, at Kenneth Thrall on Instagram. But yeah, kifaru.net, and then hello@kifaru.net is our customer service if you need to hit them up. But yeah, so go there, Kifaru International on Instagram. But yeah, if you have any questions, reach out to me or our customer service.
They're great, and their new 44 mag pack that they launched this year is awesome. It's great. All right, we're going to hike our way over to Mike Herne. Mike with Tricer. Any final shots?
I would just caveat what Kenny said, that a contractor bag is probably one of the single most useful pieces of equipment to have in your pack when you need it. With that, obviously keep it scentless, but also don't buy the thin ones like the leaf bags for your yard. You want the 3 mil Husky contractor bags from Home Depot. Like I buy a box of those and basically only use them for hunting season. I keep them rolled up. I tape them with masking tape. They stay in the bottom of my pack. If you do have a long pack out, it gives you the ability to also potentially soak your meat in a creek while keeping the meat dry. So you can put the meat in that bag, that contractor bags. It's thick enough. I've heard of guys using them to stay warm, using them because they forgot rain gear, using them to cover their pack. So it's an all around useful piece of equipment. It's totally worth the wait to have in your pack. And then I would just kind of caveat what Josh said. Give him a shout out. I got a scar on my finger from my jackstone breaking down a moose this year. I stabbed it all the way to the bone. But the jackstone from Montana Knife Company is my go-to fixed blade knife, like all-time favorite blade profile. That knife it just does it all, and I love it. I can't say enough good things about it. But kind of caveating off what Josh said, I think all three of the companies that are on here are made for hunters by hunters. Tricer came up in the tripod game the complete opposite way every other tripod company, with the exception of one, has started out. Every other tripod company out there is a photography tripod company. Yep. They also want hunter and shooter dollars. We are making tripods for hunters and shooters. And it's not the most lucrative business model, but we are hunters and shooters. That's what we're passionate about. Montana Knife Company, loaded with hunters. Bray is one of their employees up there. I think he's one of the knife sharpeners, Josh. That kid's an absolute stud. Like the people behind the company make the company. Kifaru, yeah. Kenny, I can't say Kenny's a killer. I hope to be like Kenny when I grow up. So I mean, all three of these companies are for hunters and shooters by hunters and shooters, and
awesome.
And that shows in their craftsmanship and the quality of their product.
It does. It absolutely does show. All right, we're gonna stay in the state of Colorado, and we're gonna go over to Trent. Trent, you got any final shots for these guys?
No, sir. Honestly, everyone made really good points. I like what everyone was talking about. Contractor bags are great. Getting the meat away from the carcass. I mean, everything everything was really good, and especially knife selection is a huge part of the hunt.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's massive. But
Yes,
if
sir.
if I've got to jump back to Mike. Mike, tell people where to go to find out more about Tricer. We forgot that.
They can go to they can go to tricer.com. Customer service is info@tricer.com. And then if they have any questions, you can find me on socials at Mike Herne on Instagram. Just shoot me a DM and I'll
Yeah.
try to answer your questions to the best of my ability.
Perfect. Trent, if someone's looking to book a hunt with you guys, and I know you guys, the good outfitters, they book up
Yes,
years
sir.
in advance. And I know you guys are years out. But if someone want to go learn a bit more about you or your professional shooting exploits, where they go find you at?
Full Draw Outfitters on Instagram. You can also go to our website, Full Draw Outfitters. For me, just Trent Eichler on Instagram, Facebook. A lot of times I'm just posting my shooting, but I also post some of my hunts as well. So go check it out.
And I'm telling you, the dude can shoot. And I think I was around you when you first started getting into it, and you were a sign shooter, like a pro shooter I would say within 6 to 8 months of really picking it up. Like
Yes, sir.
phenomenal for athleticism. Like the dude's a killer too. Thanks for joining us, man. All right, Josh, final shots. What do you got?
Yeah, the one thing with everybody kind of talking about cutting themselves and whatnot, if you're out in the field enough, you're going to have that happen. There's also a lot of other things that can happen out in the field, and so carrying a good med kit, I think, is something that a lot of us we might be a bit macho, especially when we're young. We think we're invincible, especially if you're out in, you have your kid with you, you have a client with you, you're responsible for their safety. So it's a little bit of extra weight, but having a tourniquet, if you sit there and watch your child or your wife or your hunting partner bleed out in front of you because you didn't have a $30 tourniquet in your pack, you're going to wish you'd carried that weight. And then have some, combat gauze, blood clotting gauze, just a few things like that is absolutely critical. You don't necessarily need Band-Aids and some of the things that just make you feel a little bit comfortable, but I'm talking life-saving stuff. We've heard stories of people having arrows fall out of their quivers and run up through the femoral artery. I mean, crazy stuff. You jump off a log and you have a stick go up your leg. Like things can happen. Fall off a wet log and puncture a chest cavity. So anyway, that's one, I guess, final thing that I would say. Also, I'll reiterate what these guys were saying. I appreciate the compliments, but these guys are badasses. Kenneth, Kifaru, great gear, great stuff. And then, Mike, I lost to him in a shooting competition. Still not real happy about that. But he's an absolute badass. So
He must have been at the
yeah.
Sig Hunter games too.
Yeah, we were at ARC. Yeah, I see his trophy up there. He just had to hang that trophy for this.
Yeah,
for
it's
me
back
to look
there.
at
It's,
it. Yeah,
it's right there. Yeah, put it up there.
Oh, the trophy's up there. Yeah, there you go.
yeah. I think we took second to Mike. So, but anyway, no, these are great dudes, and I appreciate you having me on.
Well, appreciate it. Where can they go learn more from Montana Knife Company?
Yeah, MontanaKnifeCompany.com, Montana Knife Company on Instagram, my personal Instagram, Josh Smith Knives, but we're pretty easy to find.
Excellent. All right, go give everybody a look. Here's my final shots. And it took me a little bit of development and listening to these guys to kind of figure out where I wanted to go. And Josh Smith kind of tied it all together with being prepared for once that shot breaks. Not only having good gear to pack out, having a good tripod to break that shot of a lifetime, having great knives to get out of there, but in the end, you got to get out there with your health, and your legs are going to be sore, your back's going to be sore, but you'll arrive alive, and that's what we want. We want everybody to be safe. Everybody, thank you for joining us. This is Gun Talk Hunt. You know the drill. Keep those muzzles pointing in a safe direction, and always be on the hunt.